Our next guest raised her price target on the stock following these results, lifting her 12-month target for Ulta to $572 a share. That was up from $540. We want to bring in Korinne Wolfmeyer, Piper Sandler's vice president and senior research analyst. We also have Madison Mills here with us. Korinne, it's great to see you here. So certainly the street very encouraged by the results that we got from Ulta. What's your perspective? Obviously, you have a bit more of a bullish take now with the raising of your price target.
Thanks for having me. So Ulta reported an awesome print last night. I do believe, investor sentiment has been getting a lot weaker on this name. We've seen it get a lot more mixed. It's been a much more controversial name in the current macro. We've seen promos pick up. So the stock has really come under pressure. And what we needed from last night's results was an inline print, maybe a slight beat, a reiteration of the guidance, just to rebuild that confidence in the name. And Ulta delivered well beyond that. Results came in ahead of expectations. They raised the midpoint of the guidance range, and they really proved that they are executing extremely well in today's pressured macro environment.
What potentially could be the biggest headwind to that dynamic? Obviously, we're on this great news high following those earnings yesterday, but what would you say is the single biggest thing that could change that dynamic, especially as we do start to see consumer slowdown heading into the new year?
It really comes down to the health of the beauty consumer and the level of promotions that we're going to see throughout holiday. Right now, we are starting to see some signs of the consumer softening in beauty, very minor, but we are seeing some signs. We're seeing some more price sensitivity. Consumers are taking advantage more of promotions. So if that intensifies throughout holiday, we could see some downside, especially if Ulta really does have to pull much more on promotions. But I think they've been extremely prudent in laying out expectations. They tend to be pretty conservative. They tend to really thoughtfully factor in various macro pressures. They have been considering a heavy promotional environment than we've seen in prior years. That said, they are working on better optimizing their promotions to make them more efficient. We are also seeing them do extremely well in mass beauty. That gives them a little bit of a competitive edge versus other specialty beauty peers. So I think they're very well positioned, but we are definitely watching the health of the beauty consumer. And if that does take a turn for the worse, then we could see some downside.
Korinne, when we think about the different kind of departments, and we tend to generalize this little luxury of beauty sometimes, but even within there are some areas that have a higher replenishment rate than, say, fragrances. I mean, if I've got one good cologne, I'm unlikely to, be like our executive editor, Brian Sazi, and go back to Abercrombie & Fitch over and over again and get more fierce cologne. I think for where the most cyclical purchases are, if there is one area that Ulta can lean into and continues to show strength, what is that from your perspective?
It really is those recurring daily use type products. Where we're seeing pressure are those one-time luxury items. Think of hair tools, those really expensive hair appliances. Those are a luxury purchase, and you don't necessarily need it. But what you do need as a female going into the workforce every day or going to school, you need your moisturizer, you need your cleanser, you need your mascara, you need all of this stuff. And that's where we're really seeing Ulta succeed, is in these daily use type products. We saw this in our Black Friday checks. Consumers who were lining up at the checkout, they were holding a lot of those daily use type products versus those one-time luxury items. So I do think they're very well positioned there.
Korinne, one of the other big announcements coming out of Ulta here recently is the CFO succession plan, because we did get news recently that Scott Settersten would be retiring in April. They have named his replacement is going to be Paula Oreibo. I know that you have met her. You had some time. You spoke with her over the summer. What is your perspective just in terms of how she is going to shape the future of Ulta and whether or not you think she's the right person for this job?
So we got the opportunity to meet with her this summer, and we were extremely impressed. Obviously, we're really sad to see Scott go, and he's done amazing things for the company over the many, many years. But I do think Paula's a really awesome fit. She aligns well with his thinking, and she aligns well with the CEO's thinking. But I do think she's also going to be able to bring in a more unique, innovative perspective as well. So we're really excited to see what she's able to do. Again, sad to see Scott go, but we were impressed with our interactions with her, and it does seem like she really interacts very, very well with the CEO and the rest of the management team.
And I'm curious too, Shauna was so smart to bring up the future of the brand. When you think about the growth story of Ulta, so many beats quarter after quarter. They've got 1,400 stores. They're looking to get 1,700. That's pretty feasible for them to get to that. What's the next big growth story for them in your view? Is it international expansion?
International is definitely an opportunity. I don't think it's going to be in the near or intermediate term. If you recall, they previously, a couple of years ago, had plans to expand into Canada. That's been put on hold. It does seem like they're really leaning into their existing presence in the United States right now. They still have a lot of white space potential. They're growing. They should grow about 50 units per year going forward versus about 100 previously. So still some good opportunity, but also there's still a lot of opportunity for them to capture share within existing beauty consumers in the United States. We're seeing consumers shift away from department store spending. We're seeing consumers really lean into specialty beauty retail, and that's where Ulta can really succeed. So I think there's a lot of share capture potential still in the United States. And then longer term, absolutely. I think international is an amazing opportunity to look forward to, but I don't think that's a near or intermediate term thing for them.
All right, well, they don't have to go far to reach me. That's the good news here. I watch
Me
more
neither.
beauty tutorials than I care to admit these days. Korinne Wolfmeyer, who is the Piper Sandler Vice President and Senior Research Analyst. Thanks so much for joining us here, as well as Yahoo Finance's own Maddie Mills.